If you're still using Express, you might potentially be holding yourself back. So NestJS has passed Express in terms of the number of GitHub stars, which makes it officially the most loved backend framework in the entire world. I have extensively used both frameworks, and in this video I'll show you the key differences between them and why NestJS seems to be taking over. But don't feel sad for Express. Despite NestJS's growing popularity, I'll explain why Express is here to stay and why in a way it might never lose the #1 spot. I picture NestJS as a super smart young architect who is very organized, methodical, and builds massive skyscrapers. And on the other hand, ExpressJS is like an old minimalist who lives in the forest and can build anything he needs thanks to his extreme creativity and survival skills. So if you choose to work with Nest, you'll have a lot of rules to follow, and the framework gives you clear guidance and strong recommendations on how to structure your application. So the framework holds your hand as you build the application. But on the other hand, if you choose Express, you'll have less guidance and fewer tools to work with, but you'll have more freedom to express your creativity. So NestJS is described as opinionated and Express as unopinionated. So I don't entirely agree with that categorization, but I'll explain it later. So now let's talk about TypeScript. NestJS fully embraces TypeScript, which means that you get all the benefits of static typing and reliability. And Express, on the other hand, primarily gives you more flexibility, and you can use JavaScript or TypeScript. So which one should you choose? So the boring answer would be, it depends on your use case. There is no one size fits all. But my honest opinion, just pick NestJS. So you'll be able to do anything you can do with Express and more. So yes, Nest might come with features you don't need and you won't use, and it's not as lightweight as Express, but I feel like for many use cases, it really doesn't matter. And even if you are new to backend development, I would still recommend starting with Nest. You will learn a lot more. In my opinion, it's a better investment long term. But once you've mastered NestJS, go back and learn Express. It will take you no time, and it will actually help you understand Nest even more. That's because NestJS uses Express by default. So remember the young architect and the old minimalist? They are actually related, which means that they share many of the same characteristics. Just like Express, NestJS has the concept of middleware, and it uses request and response objects as well. And many libraries that are used for Express can be used in Nest, or at least they have some adapters equivalent for Nest. So in a way, there is a big overlap between the Express and the Nest ecosystem. So now here is where it gets interesting. It's very easy to fall into that initial caricature of NestJS being opinionated and being a very rigid framework. And I have found that NestJS gives you a lot of default behavior and strongly hints at how you should do things. But at the same time, you can actually customize a lot of things and deviate from the default behavior. So we've already mentioned middleware, but you also have many other ways of hooking into the request lifecycle. You can customize the way you handle errors. NestJS has built-in validation pipes, but you can create your own custom validation and transformation logic. NestJS has the concept of modules and decorators, but once again, you can create custom factory functions to create those modules and create your custom decorators. So while NestJS might seem more restrictive at first glance, it actually offers a lot more flexibility than you might expect. It gives you the best of both worlds. Structure when you want it and freedom when you need it. Personally, I've never been in a position where I felt like there was something I couldn't do because of the framework's constraints and rigidity. That being said, even if NestJS has more stars than Express, there is a good reason why Nest itself uses Express. So Express is a simple framework, and I say this as a compliment. So it's the perfect example of doing one thing well. So Express' goal is to create a web server, and it does it very well. So some people say that it's failing because it doesn't have frequent releases. Well, why change things if they are not broken? So that's what I think. Then on the other hand, NestJS is a framework that tries to achieve a lot. So it does web servers, it also does microservices with different transport mechanism. It has recommendations on how to do authentication, GraphQL, validation, etc. So which makes it very appealing to development teams because they can do a lot in a very consistent way. And by the way, you have several other backend frameworks that are built on top of Express. So really the comparison between Nest and Express doesn't fully make sense because the two frameworks have different goals. So Express is a focused framework and people have been building and sharing their middleware libraries and even build framework on top of it. So this means that Express has a massive ecosystem of plugins and middleware and it's been around longer. So there is a solution for pretty much everything. And that's why I believe Express is here to stay. And since it's here to stay, you can watch this video and learn all about the fundamentals of ExpressJS. And in that video, I'll be building an API from scratch, step by step for you to follow along.